lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and
He missed the complete that. He's crazy
Side by
stuff.
side, Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Australians showed an early interest in the race car. This is evidenced by the existence at one time or another of early factory racing cars in their midst. The only types of competition that existed prior to World War I were of a variety of informal nature, such as hill climbs and occasional events on horse racing tracks. Motorsports is one of the most popular spectator sports in Australia. Australia's first recorded motorcycle race was held in 1901 around the Sydney Cricket Ground. In March 1904, the first four-wheeled cars race took place on Sandown Horse Racing Track near Melbourne. And the first Australian Grand Prix was held at Cowes on Phillip Island on a dirt and gravel 6.5-mile circuit back in March 1928. The most widely watched motorsports today are the V8 supercars, especially at Bathurst 1000s, but Australians have had a long love affair with cars and racing that continues today. Can anyone survive a walkabout on Phillip Island? We'll find out as we get ready to watch round 11 of the iRacing Kamel GT Series of Vice Classic Racing Championship. And you'll see it live here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Good day, mate. I'm Sean Ambrose. With me in the booth today is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, the Doctor. I'm Jed Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, Joe's going to be away this week on assignment. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about Phillip Island?
Yeah, Phillip Island, we keep going to these different tracks. The schedule that the community has picked for the Kamel GT series is awesome. And, going from where we were at Bathurst there a few weeks ago to now Phillip's Island, it's twisty, it's windy, but it's wide, and it lends itself to some pretty great racing. And we'll talk about some of the stories of the race in a few minutes, and you'll figure out a little bit more about why that is. But of course, Phillip's Island is a 12-turn course, about 2.76 miles in length, 4.4 kilometers for those outside the U.S. 12 turns, as I mentioned, and of course we're going to be doing a 30-minute race here. At one time, this track did host the Australian Grand Prix. In fact, way back, it hosted the first Australian Grand Prix on a track that was nothing but gravel and dirt, and a little bit over about 6 miles in length. Of course, now we're paved and a little bit less dirt out there, but you could get some off tracks, maybe put some onto the racing surface. But hey, Sean, how about those stories of the race?
Well, Adam, this is one of those stop-and-go style circuits that kind of lends itself to overtaking opportunities, but on a fast and flowing circuit like this, getting a good drive out of the corner, particularly in the final corner leading onto that finish straight, can be just as pivotal as making a pass heading into or during the turn.
Yeah, and of course, to make any kind of passes here, you have to be on the ball. Like, you're going to have to be late on the brakes. You're going to have to be first back on the gas if at all possible. And with the turns, you really don't have too many very slow turns. So with the fast turns, even though they're wide, yet you really have to be brave and try to stick your nose in there and try to make something happen.
Well, this track really has about 4 main overtaking spots. First really is the very first corner. That's Doohan, which is named after 5-time world champ Mick Doohan. Doohan corner is blindingly fast, and it means that it's generally a battle of courage. Going into one, we're going to see some side-by-side racing there. The Nissans can go flat out through there all the way into that southern loop, and it's going to be really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, and of course, you got some hard braking zones too that you have to worry about. Of course, going into turn 4, that's after that fast sequence that begins with Doohan, you end up in turn 4, and you do get on the binders there pretty hard. It is the slowest point on the racetrack, but when you're going into those fast flowing areas, going down into these heavy braking zones, you got to watch out for the bunch up. Now, we got one advantage with that here today, and that does look like, I guess it's an advantage, but it's also a disadvantage. We've got a pretty small field here for today, so you got to watch out for the bunch up right at the start of the race, but as people start to spread out, that'll become a little bit less of a concern.
Yeah, it does look like the the Nissan going to be the favored instrument of destruction today here at Phillip Island. Turn 7 and 8. You talked about the back part of the course there. 7 and 8 is really flat out and uphill to Lukey Heights, and you've really got to get the car set to the inside, especially that Nissan heading up the hill. You can run it really hard, really fast through there, but when you come down the other side, getting into turn 10, that right-hander, very, very challenging because you're coming down the hill. Braking and getting through the gearbox, very, very important there.
Yeah, and of course, another places that we end up seeing a lot of problems is MG corner, also known as turn 10. You do go almost as slow as a turn 4 hairpin, but not quite there. What really gets you is the fact that you kind of coming up and then back down, and that really can kind of tend to bite you as you kind of have to catch the apex at just the last minute as far as on site. And Sean, another thing that I want to add, that could potentially be a story, and it literally was the first thing I heard when I got into the session a few minutes ago, is that there's no grip out here. So you see AJ Bear, the Australian driver, loop it around. Of course, that was probably more of the turbo kicking in. Sometimes you feel on these cars. But we're looking at a track temperature now of 69 degrees with overcast skies. Now, you were with me in the practice session a few minutes ago. It's totally different track conditions than what we saw there.
Totally overcast conditions now, 69 degrees. I think the guys have been thrown for a bit of a curveball here on this one, Adam. It's not what we had. In fact, the temperature, wasn't it? I think it was like 78 degrees, I believe it was. And the session I was in earlier this morning was about the same. So these race conditions here are going to be fun. Now, it is a rolling start, but not a lot of time to get the heat in the tires, Adam. So it's going to be a pretty risky proposition going down into turn 1 side by side. Hopefully they'll file in and everybody will play nice here, and we don't have a pile up, a yard sale out there in Duhan here at the start of the race.
Yeah, and these guys, they'll have to give each other plenty of room here. Now, of course, we ended up, I believe we've got 10 Nissans that are going to start this race. We actually only have 3 GTOs. So, hey, why don't we take a look at the grid?
All right, let's do it. Time to go with our grid today in the VCR Kamel GT Championship. And it's going to be Phillip Lake there on the pole. Rob Olenek going to round out row 1.
Clayton McLeod and Marco Kika will be in row 2.
All right, row 3, John Hill, Dave Peterson.
In row 4 will be John Keefe and Michelle Kopak.
All right, row 5, Hideki Quavizzo. And Ove Trengrade is going to be in our first GTO.
And, of course, there will be a little bit of separation between the Nissans and GTOs there. Brian Shanahan and Jess Coleman will round out the GTO fields. And that also means that they'll move AJ Bear up to the back of the rest of the Nissans. So that he will actually, I think, end up being road 6.
Yeah, now, and AJ Bear in the session having some technical difficulty, unsure if he's going to be able to start from the grid. AJ, of course, one of those very fast here, and fast at any of the tracks that we've been, and I'm sure if he's in this race and gets to the grid, he's going to be one to watch to move up quickly. But with Olenek and Lake up there at the front of the field, Clayton McLeod, boy, that's going to be tough to overcome as the cars are gridding up now. We're getting ready to go live and get on the hammer here in just a moment. The grid is filling out now.
Yeah, we're just we're gonna have a full pace lap here for today. So, these guys, as you mentioned, rolling starts, which usually that helps kind of spread out the Nissans just a little bit. But if you were with us last week at Sebring, the bumpy track, everything else, and you saw what ended up being just a fantastic battle in both classes, and just a totally different track than what we had at Sebring.
Well, I'll tell you what, Sebring, I was in pain not being here for that broadcast, Adam. Sebring, one of my favorite American racing circuits, and it was a shame not to be here, but it's time to go racing at Phillip Island. The Porsche pace car pulling off now. Everybody else filing in behind. Phillip Lake going to lead him off. Adam, I know you've had a lot of experience at Sebring, and that was one heck of a race to watch. Great battle. I have a feeling we may see some of the same battling here in these Nissans today. We've got a good, strong field of experienced drivers behind the wheels of these GTP cars, and man, this is going to be a great race today. Phillip Blake, Rob Olenek up there on the front, just getting ready to go, working their way now through the Southern Loop.
Yeah, these guys have, we got the top four of the Nissans all within a second of each other as far as their qualifying times. And, from what I've seen from the practice times, they're going to be pretty close as well. So I do think we can have a little bit of a battle here. And the draft, especially through the longer flowing portions of this track, it's definitely going to play a role. But last week, one of the things we saw, anything can happen, anything sometimes does happen. So it's definitely worth sticking around for the end of the race, as you saw last week.
And this is a timed event, 30 minutes. As soon as that green flag drops, the time is on. Here we go. They are making their way into the back now here through turn 7, what they call now turn 8. Again, this is a flat-out section for these cars as they head down and then up the hill here to the left. You're going to see a couple of different lines through that turn, Adam.
Yeah, and that's going to be one place too where, if you hit your marks just perfect, you could really gain a lot of ground. But then you got to be careful because you go that uphill and then you start coming downhill. And this right-hander that these guys come up to next, it can be difficult to find the exact right braking point for that corner. In some cars, faster cars, it's even blind. Like you're on the brakes before you even see the corner.
Yeah. All right, the pace car is off. They start to close it up here. Phillip Blake on the outside. Olenek keeping it down just a little bit back. Blake on the hammer. Here we go. We have started. The race is away. Phillip Blake with a great start. Olenek already losing ground to Clayton McLeod in that Castro.
Ooh, hard contact in the back.
Already spinning here at Phillip Island. Everybody going line to stern. Down into the Southern Loop. We'll get back to that off. Boy, Olenek already trying to grab that spot back from Clayton McLeod. He's working on him hard. Phillip Blake off to a great start, though. Already got himself 3/4 of a second in front there. Breaking a little bit deeper than he is. Clayton gets on it hard. Back off the turn. Good run. Into Siberia. McLeod throws it in there. Boy, gets a lot of grip off the turn. Olenek does not. Boy, I'll tell you what. Adam, this field's got to be careful. Phillip Blake is really off to a great start here. Car looks good. Looks really stable.
Yeah, you don't want to spend too much time, trying to jockey for position when you got a guy like that up front and can run away with it. Of course, Phillip Blake is another one of those guys that has a lot of experience here at this track. Looking back now at the GTOs, Ove Trengard is back there leading the GTOs. Brian Shanahan in second, but he's already building himself up a pretty good gap between first and second and going back to third as well.
All right. Oh.
And yeah. I think we're going to take a look back here at that lap 1 accident. And what you're going to see is Peterson's close to the wall. John Keefe's on the inside of him. And John Keefe, for some reason, I don't know if it was mechanical failure or something else, but the car just darts left. And Peterson was an unfortunate victim there of what happened. But even though John Keefe caught a little bit of air in that accident, both those cars are still on track.
And while we were in that replay, Olenek had an off on track. He has fallen back, lost many positions, back to 7th. It's Marco Kika now up to 3rd. John Hill hanging on in 4th. Michael Kopak in 5th. Here in our GTP class. But Phillip Blake continues to open it up now. 2.5 up on Clayton McLeod. Marco Kika starting to close the gap back there. The Finnish driver looking up to Clayton McLeod.
See a member of the McLeod clan?
Oh,
Highlander?
we'll have to get him. Well, we'll have to get him in for an interview. There can only be one, baby.
That's right. Yeah, I was just looking at that off there by Rob Olenek, and that's something we might see, happen once or twice here through the race. Is he's going down into Duhan, and that's such a high-speed corner. If you're just not perfect through there and you put a wheel off, pretty much your only option is to end up bailing on the car and drawing straight here. So we actually do have the replay, and you'll see he goes in the corner, looks like everything's going good, then just drifts a little high, and as soon as he gets in the grass, there's no hope of holding traction. So that becomes one of those discretion's better part of valor, and you see him stay off track to let some cars go by safely. And so he was able to avoid any serious damage to the car. He can make up some ground again, but that could have been a big deal if he had been trying to push it even a little bit further.
Michael Kopak with an off back in the Honda corner. He's back under power. Didn't hit anything, just spun it a little bit too much throttle out of the turn there. That hairpin in Honda.
Now looking at AJ Bear here and Rob Olenek. Rob Olenek, of course, trying to gain a little bit more ground back. AJ Bear is just going to let him by through Duhan. So these guys here, watching Rob Olenek now, and here's AJ Bear. AJ Bear probably most of these guys are running classic schemes, but AJ Bear not one of those guys. He has a very trancing scheme, I would say. I don't know. I seem to like it. But these guys, you can already see the ground that Rob Olenek been able to pull away on AJ Bear, now up by about 1.1 seconds. And then he's got to have his eyes set on John Hill. Sean, it really looks like Rob Olenek is doing everything he can now to try to make up for that off a little while ago.
Yeah, he's recovered well here so far. It looks like he's got his focus back and, keeping a premium to keeping the car on the gray, as we say. Now, in the GTO class here, with Ove Trengrade is really off to a great start here. Already just about 5.5 minutes into this race. Brian Shanahan 3 seconds behind already. Ove just out for a nice ride around the island right now.
Yeah, take a look at something with Kika here.
Wow, that's a shame. Maybe he had that might have been, he pulled the car off the track. That might have been some sort of a hardware failure or something. Oh, and it
Bear
looks like
took the runoff going into 4.
Yeah, it looks like AJ Bear may be having more trouble. I know he was having some technical difficulty coming into this race. Boy, well, that's a shame to see those drivers out of the race because of what looks to be maybe hardware failure. We'll try and catch up on that, but boy, give it to Phillip Lake. He is still in command. Has been since he got that really great start, and not looking to give it up anytime soon.
Here's Rob Olenek again. He caught John Hill pretty quick. That was only about 2 or 3 laps since he last got around AJ Bear just a little while ago. So Rob Olenek, he's got to be one of the faster cars on track right now.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, Olenek is really, again, I think he has found that focus once again. And John Hill doing a really good job of defending here so far, but I think it's a matter of time before Olenek gobbles him up. The problem is that Clayton McLeod is up there in second, almost 11 seconds ahead of him. Going to be tough to make that up. Oh boy, in trouble for John Hill. Right there, coming out of Siberia.
It seems like maybe the pressure from Rob Olenek was getting to John Hill a little bit, and John Hill isn't one of those guys that pressure normally gets to.
Olenek back up to a podium spot here. Focus so important here at Phillip Island. It's a rather technical track in these slow sections. Honda Corner, Siberia. Of course, turn 10 down the hill.
Well, these right now, looking at that Rob Olenek and John Hill separation already. I mean, over the course of just a lap, that gap has now opened up to a second. Now, I do believe Clayton McLeod right now is still a little bit faster, but he does have over a 12-second gap on Rob Olenek. So right now he's fairly safe, and he's been the only one so far to keep your leader Phillip Lake in sight. Phillip Lake right now 2.5-second lead over top of Clayton McLeod. So he's pretty much just running away with it in that Mercedes livery Nissan GTP there. As you see them getting around some of the lap traffic already of the Audis and the GTOs. Those you can see the speed difference right here, especially on board Phillip Lake. There's Ove Trangereed. There's your GTO leader. He is just going by like he's standing still down the front straightaway. And then you'll see the speed difference here going down into Duhan. Apparently something's going on here with Michael Kopak. He is off. I'm going to have a replay, see what's going on there.
Boy, Kopak having trouble again. That's twice now that he's been around and, doesn't hurt the car. That's a good thing. But, boy, he continues to just lose a lot of ground on the top 5.
Yeah,
AJ Bear out of the pit, Adam back on track.
Yeah, he mentioned to everybody that he snapped his H shifter.
Okay, that's not good. That's not good.
So he's switched how he's shifting the car, but AJ, buddy, it's just a virtual transmission.
Dude is intense, man. Man, Ove, going back to the GTO, Ove Trengred is really having a run today. Now 7 seconds ahead of Brian Shanahan. The Scandinavian is, he's having fun in the Audi here. And, having driven both cars practicing here, I got to tell you, Adam, your style of driving in both is completely different from the Nissan to the Audi on this track. As Ove goes through turn 1, Duhan. That's not a flat-out section for the Audi. He's getting on the brakes there, getting through there. A little bit of a tap of the brakes to settle the car. Ove now finds Rob Olenek, going to make his way around here. He's got to let these cars get through. You see that speed difference. It's massive, mainly because they're flat out, and Ove is having to get on the brake to set that car.
But of course, Ove, giving those guys plenty of room as they go by here. John Hill is losing a lot of ground to Rob Olenek at first when he first got around it, but now that things have kind of settled out, John Hill is able to keep pace with him here the last little bit.
Yeah, John starting to put down some solid laps. We're 9 laps into this race here, almost to the halfway point. Things have kind of settled in. Probably a little bit, maybe we'll get about 15 more laps out of this race here. John Hill still looking pretty solid. But our leader, Phillip Lake, is the man of the hour, Adam.
Yeah, and I think Kopak just went off again here.
Yeah, again, having trouble, looks like having more trouble down there in turn 10.
I think on downshift, his car kind of broke loose on him, but he's obviously back going, as you can see there on your screen. So he's he's had himself an adventure, even though it's short, 13 minutes into this race. Oh, Ove, hearing Ove might have been off track. Yeah, take a look at the replay here and see what's going on. I think this might have been what you were talking about there, Sean, with how twitchy it seems like the Audis can be.
Yeah, and it looks like maybe carrying a little bit too speed. Might have gotten a couple tires. He did. It was riding that curb off center there and gets a little bit to the right and gets stuck out there and grabs the grass, grabs him, sends him out into the dirt. Does a great job of recovering. Shanahan, though, able to close it to under 3 seconds. Ove can see him back there in the mirror now as he heads down into Duhan.
Ove just needs to focus on being mistake-free here for a little bit, and he'll be able to pull that back out. And you got a little bit of traffic coming up here too. Kopak coming back through the GTOs, so you'll see him on the back bumper here of Ove here. Excuse me, he's already passed him. That's operator error on my end, Sean.
Hey, and I don't want to leave out Jess Coleman, the last of our GTO class. Jess. Riding there in third in class right now.
Of course, the Michigan driver. Hey, Jess doing the right thing. I think in this particular case, the simple fact that we haven't talked about him is telling him about how good a clean of a day he's having so far.
Hey, that car is sparkling clean. That is a fine looking race car right there. Not a dent on it. And talk about he's from Michigan. Really, we've got the whole globe covered right now. We got UK and Canada, New England, California, Finland, New Jersey, Indiana, Mid-South, Scandinavia, the Virginias, Michigan, Australia. I mean, that's a pretty good mix, wouldn't you say, Adam?
Oh yeah, that's one of the things I like about this Camel GT series. Now we talked about it, today's a small field, U.S. holiday. Lots of real-world racing action going on this weekend. There's it's just kind of how it is. Sometimes things do get a little slower. But like you take, for instance, last week at Sebring and the week before at Bathurst, we had pretty good fields. Commentator's curse just hit Jess Coleman, by the way. He just had a little bit of an off, but he's back on track. It's very, very diverse. I mean, you named off a few right there. Well, usually we have more. We have a couple of guys from the DH club that are running. We've got I think Hideki is the only Finnish driver. No, Marco is here too. Finnish drivers, but we usually have a couple more of the Finnish guys. You're right. You bring up the diversity of the series, and this is one of the big global series. I think that if you want just a couple guys from each club.
All right, now we've got a battle in the Audis here, and Shanahan has really caught Ove. He's right up on him now. That gap has really, really closed.
Ove's sliding quite a bit in the last corner.
Boy, maybe.
I wonder. You brought up earlier just how fearless you have to be to make moves at this track with how fast flowing and sweeping it is. When Ove had that off a few minutes ago, do you think that maybe it's more of a mental thing right now, him just trying to get back in his groove than anything else?
I think you're absolutely right. It's all about rhythm and getting back into that flow. Adam, you're a pro driver, baby. You know what's up. He's having trouble getting a grip back on it now.
I'm just a pro on TV. I'm not a doctor. Probably play one on TV.
Well, I hope you slept at that Holiday Inn last night, baby.
That's right. That's how we're gonna get the weather right here today.
Yeah. Now Ove looks to have maybe gathered it back up a little bit. Shanahan's starting to lose a little bit of ground there in a Duhan now into the southern loop. Ooh, Ove with a bit of a slide. And not for Shanahan. Shanahan gets a nice trip through. Ove able to pull away down the straight, though. Ove's been drifting the car a bit, too. The tires could be screaming at him here just a bit. Now, these two got to be careful because here comes our leader, Phillip Lake, right behind him. They got a nice battle here. going, and Phillip Blake's going to have to get around. Not catching him in a great spot. Boy.
That gap between him and Clayton really opened up the last couple of laps.
Ooh.
That was close right there.
Oh, boy. You saw how much Shanahan backed off to let Lake get by. And Trengrade takes it really, really close, and he has to finally relent, let him get by. Lake gets by clean, still leader of the race. Trengrade still hanging on to that first place podium spot there in the Audis. Shanahan giving good fight, though. They're going to have a little more traffic. Here comes Clayton McLeod, our second place driver. He's going to catch him down here in Duhan. Gets by clean there. Good job, Shanahan. Lets him get on. Ove going to keep it down to the inside. Ooh. Finally, McLeod able to get on the power and get by.
And it's not going to be too much longer before they're going to have John Keefe coming through that pair, too. And, of course, this is the battle on the racetrack right now. Just happened to be the class with 3 cars and 2 of them on your screen right there.
Well, we mentioned A.J. Bear back on the track. A.J. actually still turning really, really competitive laps. And no damage on the car, just the technical trouble he had there with snapping off that shifter. He's gone to paddles and didn't sound like he was very comfortable with that, but it seems to be working out so far.
Yeah, I've seen him, it seemed like he had a little bit of a learning curve before he figured out how to use them, a couple of times, especially where the turbo in those Nissans almost caught him. Ove's off.
Oh, boy, more trouble for Ove. Oh, no, he hits the barrier in the southern loop. Looking at it on camera again, he gets off center of that curb, grabs the grass, and it throws him hard into the barrier there in the southern loop.
I have to wonder, with the way he climbed that tire wall, is he going to have any kind of suspension or wheel damage now?
Oh, absolutely, yes. He's got wheel damage, absolutely. Gotta imagine that steering wheel not facing in the right direction for him right now. Shanahan able to get by and take his Audi up to first place. Ove hanging on to second. Jess Coleman only 18 seconds behind. Boy, he smacked that up really, really good. Heavy left front damage to that Audi.
And I'm just listening to his engine note, and I don't know if it's I don't know if it's the damage or him or a combination of both, but he just doesn't seem to be as confident being on the throttle as what he was a little while ago.
Yeah, well, I don't know how he can be. That car can't. Again, Adam, I just don't think that car is handling well at all.
AJ Bear here with a good spin.
Boy, he has trouble in the southern loop also. Boy, now the question is Ove going to be able to keep it on track and actually hold on to that spot? This could be a great opportunity for Jess Coleman to get another spot away here.
Well, this is why we race. If anything can happen, and it's like we were talking about with Sebring last week. I was telling somebody a little while ago that if you want to see how this class, how things can change in this class and how exciting it can be, all you need to do is watch the last 10 minutes of the Sebring race last week and how much things changed there. And we just kind of seeing it again with Ove here.
Yeah, and our leader Phillip Blake again still with a really, really good advantage, 9.5 seconds on Clayton McLeod. McLeod, his last lap, one of his fastest of the race, but just not enough here at this point. I think the hole is a little too deep to dig out here with about 7.5 minutes left, but let's face it, we saw Ove Trengrade make a huge mistake It could happen to Phillip Blake too. He's got to maintain that focus. It doesn't seem like Ove was ever able to really get that back after that first incident we talked about, Adam.
Yeah. And it sometimes when it rains, it pours, and then sometimes you can also be your own worst enemy. And I think, and that's not. I want to say it's not a knock against Ove or anything like that. Everybody. I don't know a single person that hasn't had a moment like that where, in racing where you had something happen to you, and it just feels like whether it'll be a mental thing or something that's actually happening, it just feels like things start snowballing against you. And as you see, Shanahan's off. Oh, he's way off. This is going to give Ove a chance here to get back. In fact, there they are. They're back on the same straightaway here.
Yes, they are. And, for all the struggle I thought Ove was handling, looking at his times, you know what? I think he's okay enough to try and take this away from Shanahan. Shanahan making a big mistake there. Big enough for Ove Trengarade to bring her and reel it back in. He's got a 15-pound bass on the hook. Okay. You didn't like that. I'm okay with that, Adam.
I heard you. Trengarade, man, yeah, he's all over Shanahan. Like, this is why we race.
Yeah, and Dave Peterson, the car back there, that Nissan, badly damaged at the open of this race, and he has just continued to sit out there and turn good laps for a very damaged car. But Dave Peterson hanging on, but not getting into the middle of this battle. Ove with a chance to still win this race.
But before this battle heats up anymore, I do want to talk about one guy I don't think we've really talked about at all here so far today. Hideki Koivisto, the car number 11. Another one of those guys he's had a quiet day, but at this rate, he's going to come home with a top 5 here this afternoon. So just want to give him a little bit of airtime, a little bit of acknowledgement for keeping that car clean.
Yeah, and you know what? Listen, this is official racing here on the iRacing service. Nothing wrong with keeping the car clean, Adam.
Absolutely, and this is one of the handful of official races that you see GSRC do nowadays. And, so there are official iRacing safety rating and iRating, for that matter, on the line out of these guys. So keeping the car clean is, crucial. Anyway, here once again, that battle heating back up between Trengarade and Shanahan, and then they're going to have some hungry Nissans try to get around, including Drew Peterson and AJ Bayer loops it around again.
Oh man, turn 10
right
just been a killer for everybody. Turn 10's just eating them up, man.
Yeah, and I think he's just went ahead and decided he's going to go ahead and tow it.
Yeah, it's been a long day. Been a long day for the Bear. That's all right. AJ will be back next week for the final round of this season, bigger, stronger than ever.
Yeah, it's hard to believe we're already getting close to week 13 again.
He's just coming out of hibernation anyway. It's okay. We'll give him a break. Boy, you didn't like that one either, Adam. Oh yeah, I'm trying, man. I'm working on it.
My being quiet's giving you a hard time, and I'm loving it.
Oh boy, and our leader trying to get around Trengarade now. Phillip Blake having a little bit of trouble.
Oh, shit hands off big.
Shit hands off. Oh boy.
And then, that Trengarade ended up running wide there to let Phillip Blake go through. And I actually think even with that, it still ended up being, with that off, it still ended up being a net loss of time for Trengarade.
Yeah, and loses more ground to Shanahan. Even after Shanahan's mistake, he's still digging. He's got Ove in his mirror. He knows what to watch out for at this point. Ove been following him for a while. Hats off though to Shanahan, the Virginia driver, coming in here and wreaking a little bit of havoc right now.
Well, Ove's got about 2 minutes and 40 seconds to do something here. Maybe a little bit longer than that, depending on when the white flag comes out. So it is, I believe it is officially go time.
Yes, sir. It is time to boogie. Let's get this done. About 3 laps left to go. Olenek, Clayton McLeod there on screen, right up next to Ove Trengrade.
And I think he just said, you guys keep racing. He's not in any hurry to get by. He knows that unless something disastrous happens to Phillip Blake, he's not going to catch him. And unless something disastrous happens to Clayton McLeod, Rob Olenek isn't going to be able to catch him. So he's in a pretty comfortable spot to just let these guys half at it here in the later stages of the race.
Yeah, and he knows he can get him after Siberia here. He can get down through 7 and 8 and up to Lukey Heights and be able to get by him here with not too much trouble. Ove getting out of the way, lets him get by. Gonna be a little tricky. Oh, and he has to back out of it there. That's not good. That's not good. He didn't get there quick enough before they got to Lukey Heights to make the pass, and he had to back out of it, and it cost him a little bit of time, but he plays it safe, like you said there, Adam, able to get by clean.
Yep, I'm not sure if he took the white flag or not just yet, but yeah, I think we're going to go around one more time here before we get the white flag of this race. But here comes Shanahan and Trangereed. Once again, they are only separated right now by about 0.7 of a second. And all it's going to take is just one slip up by Shanahan, and Trangereed's on him. And, of course, one slip up by Trangereed, and, well, he can kiss any hope of being able to get that GTO lead here goodbye.
All right, Phillip Blake, your leader. We'll be focusing on him here in just a moment because he will take the white flag this time by. Heading into Lukey Heights now. This battle on screen still going on, though. Shanahan doing a great job so far at keeping Trengrade in his mirror, but man, with a little over a lap to go, can he hang on?
That's tightening up again. Closed down about a half second from when we started this lap.
And the white flag is out for Phillip Blake here at Phillip Island. Phillip Blake into Duhan, down into the southern loop. Blake getting by Jess Coleman. Jess doing a good job of getting out of the way. Blake has been in command of this race since the drop of the green flag, hasn't looked back since. Great qualifying lap, great strategy, great effort, great run.
Ooh, Clayton's off.
That's
Looks like he's not going to lose any time, so we can still focus on the leader here as he comes across the line. I mean, lose any position, rather.
Phil Blake working his way into Lukey Heights one last time. Up the hill, down the hill. The tricky right-hander. Gets those right wheels up on the curb, back to the left. Around through this carousel, through Swan Corner. One last time, up the front straight. Your winner today here at Phillip Island is going to be Phillip Blake. Is that a coincidence? Great run by Phillip Blake. And Ove Trengrade still giving chase to Brian Shanahan. Clayton McLeod going to take second. Battle still on screen here, though.
He's just right there.
I hear that turbo kicking in. Can he get him? I think it's going to be a little bit too little too late. Brian Shanahan going to get the win here in the Audis. Ove Trengrade going to have to settle for second. Yes, sir. Phillip Blake talking about the cold weather. Well, you know what? They weathered it and put on one heck of a race here today at Phillip Island. 30 minutes of fast and furious hustling around this great classic circuit here in Australia. Adam, boy, that was quite a run.
It was, a very, very clean race by Phillip Lake, and then what turned into what ended up being a great battle between Brian Shanahan and Ove Traeger with Brian coming out on top. I mean, which is surprising considering how much Ove ran away with that Audi lead right at the start of the race.
All right, Adam, let's go ahead and go to our results and run this down for everyone here real quick. We are going to wrap this up. Our great run here today at Phillip Island. Phillip Lake, your winner. Clayton McLeod going to take second. Rob Olenek third today, gets him a podium finish. John Hill falls just outside the podium there, fourth. Hideki Koivitso, fifth. Sixth going to go to Michael Kobach. John Keefe in seventh. Eighth going to be Dave Peterson. Brian Shanahan going to win the GTO class today. Ove Trengerade, a little bit of trouble and a hard hit down there in the Southern Loop. Is going to finish 10th. Then we'll go to 11th. Jess Coleman going to finish third in class. AJ Bear, Marco Kika, both having a little bit of trouble today. They're going to finish down at the end of the field. That rounds out 13 cars today. We had 3 in the GTOs and we had 10 of the Nissans, Adam. But it was a great one and a lot of fun here today at Phillip Island.
It sure it was and is, and this series usually ends up being a lot of fun. And and even with having a smaller field, you still had some excitement, especially with the Audis.
Yeah, definitely plenty of excitement here at Phillip Island. I knew this was going to be a good one. Boy, turn 10. A lot of trouble for these drivers today. I thought we knew it would be. That downhill section of the track out of Lukey Heights down to turn 10 and back through 11. Very, very tricky. Both the Nissans and the Audis both had trouble with that.
Yeah, it's definitely it's one of those places where I have trouble on this racetrack quite a bit. That turn 10 section right there.
All right, let's bring in Michael Kopach just real quick here. Mike, congratulations. Good race today. You picked up 2 spots, finished 6th.
Yeah, not one of my better ones though. A lot of mental mistakes and off tracks.
This is one of those tracks you've really got to be focused, isn't it?
Yeah, especially the hairpins, in particular the downhill one. If you miss it by just a little bit, you're off.
Yeah, that really ate everybody up today. I don't think you were alone with that, buddy. Now, is this the first time you've run on actually one of the broadcasted races?
No, I've done a couple of them. But I missed last week's. I had another engagement.
Well, hey, buddy, I hope we get to see you next week. We're going to let you go. We're going to talk to Rob Olenek real quick. Okay, bud?
All right, thanks a lot.
All right. All right, Adam, we're going to bring Rob Olenek in, let you talk to him about his ride there and his podium finish.
Yeah, hey, Rob, of course, you ended up having that little bit of an incident right there toward the beginning of the race really kind of set you back. Tell us about your drive back through the field and up coming home at the podium finish.
Can you hear me?
We can, yes, sir.
Okay. That when I went off the track there, I just felt like I had no grip. And that was the first time that's ever happened there. But it was a fun drive back through the field. I was really happy to get by John Hill. He made a little mistake, but on a previous race this week, I just couldn't get back by him. But it was a lot of fun. Congrats to Phil for winning.
Well, once you made that one mistake, you were able to, it seemed like, to make the rest of the race mistake-free. One question that Sean had just asked was about the mental capacity you need to race here. How focused do you have to be to race Phillip Island?
For me personally, I have to be really focused to race on all these tracks in this car. It's tough to drive. I'm still learning. This is my first. I'm like 8 months in iRacing, or a little longer, 9 months maybe. So driving this car is tough. This track's a little tough. Some of like the second corner. Sometimes you can get it right, but most of the time it's some kind of compromise coming around that corner to get a good exit.
All right. Well, hey, Rob, appreciate you stopping by, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Okay, Adam, that was Rob Olenek. Listen, we got to get to Monaco. We got to hop a jet. So apologies for the short interviews today. We'll make it up next week. We'll get everybody on next week. What the heck? I do want to thank Rob Olenek, the Kamel GT community. Great organization. Listen, thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide the music for our broadcast. Their contacts can be found listed on the screen. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Amjed, and the Great Dougie Beard. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, hit us up at globalsimracingchannel.com. Check us out on social media at GSR Channel for Twitter, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race is going to be next week, round 12. And we want to see you here 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on your screen, so check those out and mark them down. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.